Alright guys, I've got a little experiment I want to try. If you guys have ever looked into ball bearing turbos or Garrett turbos and stuff, you might have heard about a thing called thermal siphoning. Whoa, power surge. But no one's really shown how it works exactly, other than just clocking the CHRA to a 20 degree so that the outlet side's higher than the inlet side. You can't see both, you'll just have to trust me, I have it rotated. But and I loosened it so I can rotate it back and show you how it starts and stops. But what the limits of it are. Now, you know, does that line have to be up here? Does that line have to be down there? What everyone always mentions, the housing, no one ever mentions the lines that feed it and where they go on your cooling system. Now, the reason why I've put all this elaboration into this experiment here is because I'm looking to update my turbo. Now, I've always used Borg-Warner oil-cooled journal bearing turbos, and that just takes an oil line at the top, drains out the bottom, that's it. There's so much oil flows through that turbo that the oil itself cools it. Now, on a ball bearing turbo, like Precisions and Garrett's and, you know, Turbo Smarts, they require, or actually not Precisions, this is why I'm doing this. Precisions is oil only. They use a heatsink center housing, which I'm not completely sold on. So I still want to run coolant lines, but as we go back to here, you guys see how far my turbo sits compared to my radiator. The turbo oil or coolant lines would be the highest point in my coolant system. So that's why I'm trying to go back to thermal cooling here. In my mind, it's not going to flow fast enough through there to prevent it from boiling, creating steam, and adding air pockets to my coolant system. Now, on WRXs and STIs, the factory gets over that by adding that extra expansion tank that you'll see stuck to the side of your intake manifold. That is just for the thermal cooling of the turbo. That's the only reason it's there. It creates a high point in the system to bleed the air off, to let the natural pressure, as the coolant heats up, push the air into your overflow bottle, and then as it cools down, it sucks coolant back into the system, so you never get an air pocket. So I've already kind of preheated this thing here. I'm going to rotate it back to 0, or at least close to 0 as I can. That's about it. And I'm going to turn the heat back on. Simulate the turbo. And I got a little bit of food coloring because obviously we can't see the water circulate. I'll let that warm up a little bit. I'm going to pause it while it warms up. Alright, it's probably good and warmed up. I'm trying to see how it's going here. Obviously, the 2 ports, I can't see it back here, port planning, are supposed to be at the same height. And I could see a little bit of the water pushing out, but what I don't know is if it's sucking in on the other side. I mean, you would think it is, but let's find out. Alright, doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like anything's happening. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rotate this housing and see if I can simulate thermal siphoning. I gotta set you down. Alright, it's rotated. And I still don't see shit. So I'm going to leave this in the video. Either I didn't keep water in there, although I tried to siphon it and make sure and locked it and put the 2 ends underwater to make sure no air got in there. But by the looks of it, oh wait, here we go. For siphoning. It just needed to be hotter. Maybe it's not siphoning. It's coming out of both sides. Why is it? Oh, I get it. It's boiling. It's putting air into it, and it's pushing it out. Where is it? It's so hard to tell. How's that doing that? Yeah, it's just boiling the water inside. It's not siphoning. Pretty soon we'll get air bubbles. Call that a failure.